So, what are we working on next? I think the last thing we were looking at was next frame. Yes, there's only 4 basic things. So we looked at game loop. Yes, that's what we were just looking at. Genius. Core state. That's the core. And core. Alright, so that's the actual basics of the app so far. So what do we want to do? Let's actually look at the game. And just queue up the console. That's all we do so far. So what we really want to do now is we want to actually render a bubble. Maybe what are we going to do next? Do we want to actually render bubbles on the screen? Do we want to sort of begin implementing the basic data structures, which is, okay, I got one thing so far. I don't really like the name state here because some of these things have nothing to do with state. State's fine up to this point, but I also don't like having constants in here either. I think that's not a good sign. So let's just clean things up before I decide exactly what we are going to do. Theoretically, I think we only have to do this once in the entire program. See if that works. Okay. Okay, so I just made config basically. Oh, I did one other thing like 1 minute ago, which is there's nothing at all, but I called it MS rather than calling it time, just because time is confusing. Because time feels like if you say give me the time, you mean give me the absolute time right now. Anyway, MS sort of more clearly communicates this is a delay, not an actual time thing. I should move this into. And then finally, I think really state should contain nothing but the model. So music's a bit loud. Okay. So given that, who should hold this stuff, this controller stuff? We could call it controller, Yeah, I guess for lack of a better thing to do, let's call it that. Yeah, let's call this guy controller. Does controller have 2 L's? Controller. Okay, looks like. Okay, controller. Boom. Okay. So let's rename state into let's rename it into model. SCLJS. Whoops. Oh shit. Oh, it was supposed to be model, sorry. I just gotta do this. I gotta go into who's referring to model. I think core refers to model, or refers to state, which is not model. Model. And actually, it's going to now need to refer to element controller. Controller, okay. And just for my own neuroses, element of PQR. Alright. Controller. What's this? CFGHIJKLM. Alright, sure. Okay. Got a problem here. I hate that so much. Okay. Refer must be followed by a sequence of symbols and require. Alright. Refer must be followed by a sequence. I just did it obviously here. Okay. No such HTML5 game dot controller. No such namespace. That is true. Did I just accidentally overwrite it when I? That is weird, actually. Okay, who's this? Okay, sure. Okay, sure. Controller. Yeah, you don't have a reference to state, so you should have an error. Yep. Actually, you also don't have a reference to console messages, so... model. Config, and it also needs to refer to the model and refer to the state. I think these are the only two people who actually need direct access to state, is the core and the controller. Other than that, I think that's everything. It's a bit cleaned up, or it's a bit at least more separate. Okay. That looks fine. Yep, looks fine. Core looks fine. Future. I got a warning. Dispatch at line 9. Yep. Same thing. Let's just see if it says only be 3. Good. Okay, well, that's fine. And model. Oops, I just meant to check the compiles. Okay, cool. So let's just commit that. What did I do in core? Oh yeah, I'd probably just change the requires. Well, we don't actually have a view, but which I'm kind of calling the dispatcher or whatever. I don't know. Okay, so that's something. Cool. All right. So first thing the book does is it reading through it. Oh, we actually create the sprites. Okay. I think we've already done this. So let's see. We already created a CSS thing that's actually going to CSS style. Oops, style. Yeah, this should actually give us all 4 types of bubbles, so that we can, using this CSS, we can refer to the bubble as a particular position. That's cool. Let's just do the code actually though. Yeah. So the way they're doing their animations with jQuery, which I don't want to use, so let's try to figure out a way to do that in a different way. So one thing I see as I'm looking through the pages is there are constants, so this config thing may already come in kind of handy. And we don't need to, we don't need to say that anymore. But one thing we can say is things like def double diameter is equal to 44. Right? We can say things like that. We can also say is there anything else we know for sure? Oh yeah, somewhere in here. This is actually, well, it's in a later chapter, so maybe I shouldn't have said this. I think that may be it for constants in this chapter. Okay. So, that's cool. Well, no, it's not. I just declared a variable. I already declared even a constant variable, so it's not particularly cool, but, alright, so how do I want to do this? Do I want to actually do the CSS transition stuff and the CSS keyframe stuff? Do I want to just start with the canvas and never look back? I kind of just want to start with the canvas, because what I'm really long term, I mean, building another bubble app is not really that interesting, honestly. There's already 1,000 of them. There will be 10,000 by the end of their run or whatever. What I want to build is an app that is always perfectly serializable, and like I say, it's usually like, you may be watching these videos one after the other, but it's often like several days between when I work on this stuff, right? Because other things. So one thing is, yeah, I've really thought about it, and the transitions and the animation, transitions and the keyframes, they're cool, but yeah, they really don't understand the quotient of, you know, what percent of the transition or the animation have I completed so far, you know, and that sucks, frankly, you know. Now, on the other hand, keeping track of everything truly manually is expensive, right? It's way more expensive than the transition and animations. There will be performance kicks from keeping track of everything personally, but you know, I'm not really going for the greatest performance in the world here. I'm more going for, let's see if we can program a game where basically the entire state of the app can be held in the same way that the people these days are starting to structure web apps, you know. That is to say, one single atom, that single atom can be persisted and serialized and deserialized at any point, and by capturing that serialized form and deserialized, and by capturing that state, right, you've captured the entirety of the state of the app. There is no hidden state. There's no, you know, if you restore it, it will be 100%. You'll be 100% in the exact same state you were in before. There's a small catch here, right, because I am talking in the thing I did previously. I set the times using absolute times, right, which would mean kind of like, yeah, I mean, in order to resume from that actual moment, you need to, not only when you serialize something, do you need to serialize it, but you probably also want to serialize the actual time that came from, you know, so that when somebody deserializes, they effectively, you know, they'll deserialize it, but then they'll go through all those in queued, and they'll update the run after attributes to, you know, be relative to the new time, so that it's as if you just resumed, right? Because the run after attributes are all absolute times, and the time thing coming in from the render message is also an absolute time, and so everything's absolute. If you restore it into the future, like a day later, it's pretty likely that everything will run immediately, you know, in one frame, which probably wasn't what you intended. You know, you had an assumption that things would actually run in some order. Yeah. Anyway, this is I don't really think necessarily this is the best way to structure a program, but I think it will be interesting. So, yeah, why not, basically. It'll certainly be more interesting than just cookie cutter following the recipe he's providing, which is perfectly valid and perfectly well formed. I'm not critiquing his code in any way. I'm just saying I would rather do something else, basically. Except for the that is equal to this that he seems to put in every function. I don't quite get why that's there, honestly. It's not really a critique. It's just me poking fun at things. Okay. So let's just start with Canvas, basically. All right, yeah. So I actually don't know much about Canvas, so let's. I'm pretty sure it's pretty much supported. Yeah, there's no need to polyfill for Canvas. I mean, people need to grow up if they're still using IE8. He is using Opera. I think I've heard that this is actually the Wii browser, basically. Anyway, who cares? Just try to draw a canvas. Just try to play around with the canvas a bit. This will be a learning experience for the both of us. Okay, so this is going to be different, right? Because so far, like, I'm experienced with using React, but I've never used Canvas at all. Well, other than one time I had a job interview thing where the guy had me do something in Canvas, but that's the limit of my Canvas exposure. It's like a 1 hour little programming challenge with it. So, should I make my own namespace for actually drawing with Canvas? Because yeah, it's not like it's going to draw like anything else draws. Actually, I'm kind of not remembering. Yeah. This is awful. Okay. I'm fine with that, but I'm looking in the book and I'm seeing 1,280 or something pixels. What's up with that? I'm seeing width of 1,000, height of 620. So is that the same or different than the board? How come this didn't work? I mean, none of this worked. Damn it, that's annoying. How come it didn't indent? Whatever. What the hell happened here? Well, I'm sorry, I find that really annoying way to indent your code. Well, just gotta be consistent, that's all that really matters, but... Okay, I can't stand that, let's... Let's just see if this works. Slash new line blank. space. No, did not work. I don't know. I don't know how you specify that. I think these can all be removed because we're not going to do bubbles this way anyway. But I'll just leave them. If we're using Canvas, we're not going to use the CSS offset information trick or whatever. Okay, so anyway. Yeah, I see a board of 1,000. Alright, well anyway, I'm going to say in here, I'm going to add in this one manually, game canvas, and it's going to have a width of 1,000 pixels, and it's going to have a height of 620 pixels. Alright, and I'm also going to go to core. Going to add in the canvas. I'm not sure this will work in React, let's see. I've never used it. Looks okay to me. Sure doesn't look like 1,000 to 620 though, does it? Oh, there you go. Alright, whatever. Okay, cool. So that is, at least we are drawing a canvas, right? What should we call the thing that actually does canvas drawing? I guess it's called canvas. Alright, let's define a function. And how should I get the canvas every time? It's kind of stupid to get it by, well, whatever, who cares? Let's just do it the easiest way. Get canvas. No argument function. What's it gonna do? It's gonna do, I think it's just document. JS document.get element by ID we're passing in canvas, which is kind of a magic variable, isn't it? We should probably deal with that. Of course, it's also the CSS, which makes it almost necessary to reproduce at least once. Sure what happens when you actually print out what this is. If I put out by ID, that get context is not a function. Probably it's capitalized. Okay, so we got a canvas rendering context tree. Cool. Cool. All right. Sorry, I'm just reading through the book. Now we want to draw an image. Okay, sure. Oh. So there is a little catch here. We need the image to be loaded before we start using it, basically. We need to know that the image has been loaded before we start using it. But we could bind a function. We could have an onload function for the okay. Yes, it's pretty weird because it says in the book, it says any image you want to draw to the canvas must be preloaded so it's available to draw, otherwise nothing appears. To do this, we'll create an in-memory image object in JavaScript, set the image source to the sprite sheet, and attach an onload UV header to it. When it's finished loading. I'm sure they did this somewhere in the code, but I can't find it where they actually did that in the code. Looking for an image object. Power bills. He says he's about to do it immediately, but I certainly don't see it immediately. You know. Alright, what the hell? I didn't know it would load this unless I had actually put it into the DOM somewhere, you know? You learn something new every day, I guess, you know? Okay. Now, where do I read about the events this thing fires? On load, I guess? That's what we're looking for. quite sure. Okay, yeah, we set the onload. Oy. Ugh. Not cool, but okay. Where should this go? I don't have a good place for this, so I guess under core. Oops. Where should I put this? I don't like having it. Okay. I forgot how do you do this in JavaScript. Okay, image dot set source. Or closure script, so. Set attributes. Set attributes. Closure script. Set property. Set property. Set dupe. Source image. We want to set it to. I don't actually know what it was called. It was something style sheet. HTML image bubble sprite sheet.png. Image bubble sprite sheet.png. Yep. Okay. Cool. And evidently that'll set the image. So then we just need. Let's actually set the onload before we set the image, just so we have. On args2 fastest underscore set. Is trusted is true. Interesting. I guess maybe it worked. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that did. loaded really. But I think maybe it's loaded. So if that's the case, let's go in here and one more guy who actually does have access to state, but at least it's in the same namespace. I thought somebody actually had access to state in here. Oh yeah, that guy right there did. Okay, I'll do this in a second actually. I don't feel like this actually belongs under here. Because it is effectively a constant once the program started. So, it's a bit weird, but I don't know. Let's think about this. Feeling less good about this now. Getting an error. Only as and refer options are pointed require. Oh, I misspelled require. That's supposed to be refer, not require. Okay, there we go. And I don't know about this. Yeah, I don't have an app state here. What am I going to update? Well, what happens if I just swap on the actual atom? Swap on state, which is after all just an atom, right? And on state, we don't need this. Remember args press to underscore swap. Yeah, I think you need a function, don't you? Something seriously wrong with that. Like it's taking forever to compile and then something seriously wrong. What is seriously wrong? I mean, I can believe that it's not going to work, but I don't know what's actually seriously wrong with it. Alright, so I'll show you. I hate the way Ubuntu does window management. Getting 1,000 of these. Topic, sort, invoke. It's obviously an error, but I have no idea what that's about. So first of all, there's a problem because this guy's referring to config. Well, no, not really. Okay, maybe I'll just be stupid about it and say. No, I think same error. It's really crapping out when you do that. It does not like doing that. Whatever, something's going on here that it really doesn't like. In terms of compiling, it'll never finish. Just do, I don't know, but let's just do these three things sequentially. Use of liquid var, HTML5 core image. Oh, you did. Really doesn't like that. Is it this line that's causing it to just hang indefinitely, practically? I'm still waiting for it to compile. It takes almost 40 seconds to compile right now. Okay, yeah, it's that line. Onload spreadsheet. Is it just the fact that it's swapping? Because I'm pretty sure we had that before. Yeah, it's actually that swap right in there that's causing it to really screw up. Why would that happen? Why would that happen? Why does that cause such a screw up? Because that's fast when you do it that way. That's interesting. So I do it that way, it's fast, but on the other hand, if I do it this way, no, now it's working. Oh, I hate stuff like this. Okay, if I take it out and just do it in... Alright, if I put it back in config. Now it's slow again. What the fuck? Something about this that really screws it up. I can't even see what the error is because it goes up so far. It's not seeing where it is. It's also loading really slow. I'm just going to try killing it and restarting it. actually takes less time than reloading the app. Fine. We have a million reduces going on here on the analyzer. Maybe we have some sort of endless loop here, but I don't know what it is. Super annoying. Ugh. Like, I really don't even know where this error is, actually. Can't be this. Can't be that. I don't think it's that. Could it be this? No, it's not this, but I don't know what's causing these bugs to show up. Why it refuses to compile mostly. This is what I got. This must... I'm pretty sure this means that there is a cycle. Okay. Because we're reducing forever, right? So, let's look in model. Maybe model refers to config as well. That's right here. Model does refer to config. So config is trying to refer to model. Okay. Could be a better error message, honestly. So how do I get to state then? It does model, just for that stupid console message, which we're not even using here, actually. Okay. And then okay, that's good. Alright. Image. Okay, okay. So I think maybe theoretically, okay, let's actually change that to loading initially. Then let's change that to initial once we're actually ready. Let's allocate context. This is not the error. Go back to core. Let's now you're just gonna say basically it's on click stuff. Alright, so now we have more than two states. We have loading, initial, and alright, so there's a CSS way to disable a button. No, but there is a button disable attribute. Alright. Let's look up React disable attribute. Alright, maybe disable, you just use normal. Actually just say if equal to if state is equal to disabled and true, otherwise false. And just leave this loading stuff in here. I don't even have a button in here, do I? It's this H2. Okay, sure. It's actually centered, it doesn't feel centered. Anyway, who cares? Yeah, screw this disabled stuff. Let's just actually do a copy. Should be if I put the wrong image in there, it should take a second. Or it should just be permanent. Well, I guess it doesn't care about being disabled. This should never fire. Okay, inspect elements. Nope, you're supposed to be disabled. How come your initial? It's static on the loading. Yeah, okay. We should also be able to see its transition. Okay, so that did work. It did say, yeah, I don't have the ability to do that. Okay, I guess that does work. Sure. Get context to null. Okay, yeah, just saying that wasn't ready at that moment in time. That's fine. Canvas. Alright, so we've now solved the mystery of how do we deal with having the images loaded ahead of time in a very lame way. Okay, but that's fine. Sheet is always loaded ahead of time. Okay, so that's cool. So now we should be able to actually draw from that sprite sheet. So we'll look around. How do we do that? We want to grab the context and then we want to draw an image on it. There's no need to be too generic about this. I mean, let's just talk about drawing a particular bubble. Draw a bubble. What are we talking about? We're talking about the bubble. Simple. So we just we go to the get context, sure. And then once we have the context, now we can just say draw image. I'll copy this from the book. See. And then we can pass in all sorts of parameters. Let's see. Alright, the image itself, which is always just, we actually put it in the state. No, we didn't. We put it in config. Sprite image or something? Yeah, sprite sheet, yeah. And what else do we want? We want the offset X and the offset Y. So it just happens to be the bubble. which is b times the width, which is b, the height, which is b, the x and y, what's that again? Oh, this is where to draw it onto, okay. 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 Width and height. That should just be B and B again, because we're just preserving everything basically. That should draw a bubble onto the canvas theoretically. Okay, use of undercurved var, HTML5 game canvas, sprite sheet clip boundary at line 10. Okay, so probably we didn't actually even define it, did we? Okay. You sort of go to our canvas bubble index at line 11, alright. Bubble index. Alright, okay. So that should draw a bubble theoretically. Okay, so here we are, and then I can, maybe I can cider connect, let's see. Alright, and then I can maybe start the REPL. I can maybe move into here. I can maybe compile this namespace. Okay, then I can maybe draw a bubble, let's see. A lot of maybes there. I'm going to draw element 0, I'm going to draw in position 0 and coordinate 0. Big error. Draw image is not a function. Okay. Oh shoot, it's not supposed to be sprite sheet, is it? It's supposed to be authenticate context, I think. Type I failed to execute draw image on canvas, render context 2D valid. Varieties are 3, 5, and 9. But 7 arguments provided. Okay, I've obviously missed one. Or a pair, I mean to say. So I have the image. Check. I have the SX and SXY. Check. I have the S width and the S height. Maybe not. B and B. I guess I'll just put this in multiple lines. Multiple pairings. HTML image element or HTML video element. Really? Because I thought it was. Or HTML canvas. I mean, it's what is okay. What is config slash sprite sheet then? It's a string. Wow, that is unexpected. Oh, I think I forgot to actually set the value. We actually want to set it to this image. Hate that. Alright, image. Okay, cool. I press new game. Okay, and then I say let's draw an actual. First of all, let's check what a sprite sheet is. Alright. That looks good. Nothing happened, but we had no errors either, so what do you know? Okay, context of null. Let's just reload the page, just see what happens. So this is theoretically the initial state, and theoretically this image loaded in, and we're cool. Now we're playing. This is theoretically definitely there's no canvas in here. Wait. Oh, there it is. Canvas, get canvas. Shouldn't canvas be in board, at least? Should certainly be under footer bar, I'll tell you that much. Alright, well, we'll deal with that in a second. Obviously, I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, so what is going on with this sprite sheet stuff? Nothing's going on there at all. HTML element. What happens? I mean, this is weird, but what if I just actually Yep. Okay. So it seems to be something. It's not doing anything though. What could I be doing wrong here? I'm going to explore some more about that loading. It seemed to happen regardless of whether this works or not. So config. I mean, we should never be moving forward if this is the case, and yet somehow. No, we are. Okay, so that is loading. Then how come is it still visible? Shouldn't be disabled. It should actually be loading right now, which I mean, the value is loading, so it should actually be. Oh yeah, it should be disabled. Okay, that's good. Then when I do enable it, I get okay. It goes through some cycles, but yeah, thumbs. I went from loading to initial through no message actually, which is a bit interesting, but I guess that is stupid actually. We should use the messaging even for this. Yeah, why not? Why not? Why should anyone be Okay, so let's core CLJS. Dispatch, where's dispatch? There you go. Control. Oh, mostly because now we have to have an actual message just for handling this, which is, yeah, a bit overkill, but whatever. Oops, I realized I did. Really no care about this at all, so. And then we need to actually add this into the controller. Oh crap. Now we have a controller. We got this guy referring to the controller. We got everybody. Damn, it's annoying. Annoying. Okay, well, same error. Alright, so screw that. I'm not doing it. I'm just gonna do it. Whoa. Just broke it. Oh, I know. Surely I've made some change here. Yes, oh, I didn't see that. Okay. So drop that and then config. Yeah, forget all that. That's nonsense. Let's just go back to this. And let's take out this controller nonsense too. This. That's good still. Config. What's different about this? Swap state, associate, initial. Returning image, that's what's different. I think this thing's just stuck in a bad loop. It just can't move on to compiling correctly. I may have to kill it. Access. Well, I'm just getting bored, so I'm gonna kill it. Alright. Boot dev. That was a long time too. Something's still wrong here. Nope, I guess it's okay. So what have we got? What did I do now? Canvas. Okay, that's real. But this is the only change I made is actually returning the image. So I'm just going to amend that also in the last one. And then for canvas, I'm going to add this as okay. Theoretically, I think now this should draw an image. It certainly does not. I mean, if I actually use it. Sure. Okay. Oops. Can't do that. You gotta start with the REPL first. Cool. Yep. Okay. We gotta move into here. Gotta compile this one, sure. Click new games. And let's just try drawing the bubble. 0, 0, 0, 0. No error. I got nothing going on. What's wrong? Alright, let's try getting simpler. What's the most simple draw image I can do? Just an X and a Y coordinate. Okay, sure. There's no way to actually see what the side effect of this is. That's weird. Sprite sheet ping. I just don't know why it's not doing anything. Alright, for lack of a better plan, I'm going to say var image is equal to, well, let's do source context is equal to game dot get dot canvas get context. Okay, I'm going to go to is equal to HTML5 game dot config dot okay. sorry, Bob. Don't quite get what's going on here. What is bugging me? This thing is sitting here. I don't think we need game at all anymore. Alright, I guess what I'm really saying is I don't think we need game canvas anymore. Interesting. I bet you one absolute was below the other. Stupid, stupid. Okay, why didn't I think that? Okay, and then I'll bet you, let's just take out the core. Let's take out this game and this board stuff. Let's just put canvas in here. See what happens. Cool. Let's draw a 200 point offset. That wasn't exactly what I expected, but oh well. Huh. Seems to be the opposite of what I thought those were. Okay, so that's actually the offset, and this is actually the index. Oh, also I forgot I just disabled those, okay. Okay, so, alright, that's cool. I sort of got it working. Let's... Well, the easiest way to do this is just clear the entire rectangle every time. There's actually a function for that, evidently. Clear rect. 0, 0, canvas width, canvas height. Alright, so let's do that. Def and clear canvas. Actually, we just need to say clear. Clear rectangle. Now we're going to take a get context. I really don't like using the word get, so let's just stop doing that. Basically. Oh, actually, I did it twice here, didn't I? I didn't even notice that. Okay, but the rectangle takes a context plus takes 0 and the 0, and then it takes the canvas. Oh crap! I have to get the canvas. Lame. Okay, fine. yet, actually, after further consideration. Oop, oop. Okay, get canvas. This guy says, sure, go ahead and get the canvas, let's get the context, which is 2D. But he also has the option of taking a canvas. Which, so he basically says, or you need to get the canvas, so if the canvas is not unspecified, it gets a null. And let's also make it so we can pass it. Let's also make it so we can pass in the empty argument, which we'll just call to get context with null. Or should it's stupid. Might as well just say get context with no, I think that makes most sense. It's not null, it's null, isn't it? And okay. Canvas, so we did get a canvas in this case, and once we receive the canvas, we might as well just get the context from that. So we do that in this case, and we say get context, and we get we pass in the canvas that we got. No, the canvas in the context, okay. And we're then going to dot blot width, I believe, of the canvas. Height of the canvas. That will clear the entire canvas. Alright. Use of undeclared var HTML5 get canvas context at line 16. Okay, so context at line 16. That wasn't 16 actually, was it? So let's okay. Let's try out our clear method. You know, I guess they're all kind of explosive things, aren't they? Sure. Let's draw a bubble this time. Draw a bubble. I'm gonna draw the first bubble in the first state. I'm going to draw it at position 50 and 100. Didn't work the way I thought it might. I kind of don't need to be doing this anymore. That's a bit wrong. And what about okay. So those are supposed to be actual x coordinates, I think. I guess it's up to me, but I don't really know. Yeah, those are supposed to be actual coordinates. Pixel X, pixel. Yeah, that's cool. It's sort of like blended them together. Neato. Okay, sure. It sets a bunch of, I can draw bubbles and I can also clear things. While we're saving. I also changed canvas to game canvas, basically. Let's just see what's else in here, dude. Yeah, I don't care about, you don't need to call it game canvas, let's just call it game style. And let's also switch that in core. If you don't support Canvas, and it is 2015, it is just your problem. I'm only supporting Canvas. Okay. Let's probably get context of null. Oh, that's right, we're looking for, it's pretty annoying this is a magic variable, it's specified 3 places. Alright, well, whatever, that's fine though. That's not fine, but it's acceptable for the moment. So we just removed that basically. Canvas, we did quite a bit. In core, we did a very small amount. I don't like how that's hanging off the lip there. It's okay. Just a tiny little change. Commit. I can draw and clear. I can draw bubbles and clear the board. Cool. Okay. Oh, what about, I can draw bubbles in various states, right? No. That's backwards. The first argument is supposed to be the color, and the second one is supposed to be the state. Let's just do something pretty. See that there's nothing there. Yeah, okay. That's basically how Canvas works. Okay, okay. Alright, I'm going to read about this just a bit more. Alright, so let's just try to do everything we probably need to do. So one thing that it mentions in the further practices section is that you might want to rotate Also try adding some rotation to the bubbles as they're drawn onto the canvas. This should give the top popping a much richer feel for very little effort. Okay, sure. Well, let's not do that actually, but let's let's just write a pop function, you know, a function that basically moves a, what does a pop function do? Seems kind of dumb actually. What am I possibly going to need to know other than increment by 1? Maybe this isn't something. I was thinking a pop function, but realistically, if every single thing is going to be its own little message, there is no pop function. There's, you know, you're in the initial state, and then you sit there for a little while before you pop, and then you're in the first state. You're in basically this one right here, where you're there for, you know, a little bit of time. Then you're in the second one. Then you're in the third one. I guess this is the second one. This is the third one. You know. Yeah. So. There's really no, I mean, like, it's 0, 1, 2, 3. Like, there's nothing more to it, really. But we can't do the rotation thing, actually, for almost no cost. And we'll just say we'll always do draw bubbles with the rotation, you know. So, let's go back. There's a section back here. The interesting thing about rotation is that it's, let me find it. Is that it's all relative to the origin, right? So, how do we rotate, right? Okay, so, if we're going to do rotation, we actually do have to use the canvas somewhere else, so, in multiple places. So, first we have to actually evidently translate. So instead of doing it this way, I think we're instead going to just translate to the position we want to be at. And I think we're always going to be at 0, 0 now. Alright, so we're going to translate the context to the position that we want to be at. That's not it. To the position we want to be at, which I think is this. Instead, we're always going to pass in 0, 0. I think. Let's see. And then let's just rotate by a little bit, you know. A random amount too, you know. Dot rotate. Oh, we gotta pick how much we're gonna rotate by. So it's in radians, so I think that's going to be between 0 and 1, I believe. So we're going to then multiply that by JS math.pi, I believe, times JS math. Actually, I totally forgot what random is in JavaScript. Actually, wait, we can just use what am I thinking? We can just use the rand and closure. Which I believe should be between 0 and 1. Almost 1. Okay, so let's think about that. Does that matter? No, not really. Does it matter which direction we're rotating? No. I mean, they're the same. To get the full possibilities, do we need to multiply this by 2? Because this is just pi, so we need to do 2 pi if we want to be able to rotate theoretically all the way almost to the original position. So I think we multiply by 2. Even if we don't, it doesn't hurt anything, right? So let's translate. Oops, we do need to translate something. Let's rotate. Let's rotate by R. And then let's, okay. Well, it's actually math.py. Okay, I did that actually, so. .py. Really surprised me that that's safe, but okay. Do we really need to move it? In the example, they put it, they rotated, they placed the image, and then they put things back the way they were. Which I kind of wonder, is that really necessary since I'm getting the context every single time? Okay, because the context maintains state. Alright, so evidently it does, yeah. Okay, sure. Cool. C times -1 times R. Alright, so translate C times pixel X times pixel. Oh, wait, 0, 0, I mean. Oh wait, I gotta move back the way I came. Pixel X times -1. And pixel. You'd think there'd be accumulating errors after a while of doing this. Maybe there's not though. Maybe there's not. Okay, translate at 931. V7 liquid var HTML5 for canvas translate. Yeah, I'm calling it on a value. Oh, this one. Okay. Okay. So now it should just draw them a little more randomly each time, basically. I'm gonna clear. Oops. Draw image is not a function. Oh, oops, I took out the thing. I need to put it back in. Pixel y.call is not a function. Canvas.js today too. Doesn't help. That's no good. Oh, there is no 4. Alright, so something obviously doesn't work. Let's just see. Crap. What am I doing down here? Okay. We're doing something different. So that's not very random, but okay, that's fine. rotated around the center point, is it? Okay, let's think about that. Alright, so pixel X and pixel Y. So first of all, I think this should be 0 and 0 now. Let's just see what it says about that. Let's just say clearly not really where I wanted it there. Though it does make a kind of cool little pattern, doesn't it? Well, it really doesn't like being down there at the, it's just coincidence, I think, but... Alright, anyway, that's enough cutesy stuff. So let's think about this. Pixel appears to be the right size, and it appears to be the right... What if I put it in 0, 0? What does that do? It's just a tighter loop. It would almost appear that it needs to be... Well, let's just see, negative B, negative B. Oh, I can't do that. Same level of error, so let's try. As we're going halfway into the circles where we want to. Okay, that's cute. Let's try to clear again. Alright, I think that's what we want, actually. You're right, it does create a good deal more variability in terms of what the bubbles actually look like. They don't all pop exactly the same way. Well, it's just a rotation. That's pretty cool. What else? Well, that's worth saving. And that's fine, because when it's just being shot, right, it's the original bubble, and I think it's equal on all sides. The other thing they said as an additional challenge you might try is, actually making it faster or slower, which we can do too, but we have to do that with the data, not with the, in a different way, basically. So let's move on to levels, sound, and more. I think that might be fun. Alright, so let's look through this sound stuff. Let's see, alright, so according to the book, I should be able to just do this. So equals new audio. What did I actually call it? HTML sound pop.mp3. Okay. Yep, I can hear. I don't know if you can actually. Yeah. I guess not, because you can only hear the mic, and you've never been able to hear my music, for instance, before. So, speaking of which, what did happen in music? Okay, cool. So that's all you have to do to play a sound. It's really not much. Okay, so it's pretty easy. So I guess we could create another. I mean, I don't even know what to make of it, you know? Okay, so I'm just thinking to myself, actually, sound is an example of something that I don't think there is any way I could actually restore. Well, I mean, let's... Can you play at a later point than the original sound? Let's look at the sound. I think sound may be something that you truly cannot restore, at least not with this API. Not at least properly. But sound HTML5 API. What the hell is all this? This is way more complicated than I'm interested in doing. Okay, but actually it looks like it may actually be possible to That's all very cool stuff. But yeah, okay, this is way more I just wanted to play a sound. I'm not gonna deal with this. So it's not even an argument to it. Is this an item in config, I guess? I don't really know. there's the sprite sheets here, then it seems like the sound should be too. Oops. And I'm just saying, okay. Cool. I mean, it's almost dumb to even have it as an actual argument here, but, or as an actual function. In fact, I would say it's almost it is, but 5game dot config as config. Only refer closure. Warning, pop already refers to, oh yeah. Well, I guess it's a side effect, so let's do it like that. Pop already refers to CLJS core pop. There's a pop as well, okay. I don't know what that is. Pop. Closure.org transients. Huh. Transient vector. I don't really know what transient vectors are. I mean, I could guess, but yeah. Okay, anyway, who cares? Let's do the closure exclude trick. Really remember this. I forget it every time. Okay, yeah, duh. Wait, no, not duh. I thought I did define pop in here. Use undercode var HTML5 config / pop at line 7. I see a pop. Why don't you see pop? Oh, I just haven't compiled the namespace. Okay. So then we can move into here, into this namespace, and we can actually bring up site a REPL. And we can pop all we want. Yep, I can hear it. And let's just parrot mode because it's annoying. Oop, 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 oop. Hey, wait, can I do 2 pops at the same time? So let's do a pop. Let's just do them all the same way. Just set timeout delay, and we'll put in a pop. 1, 2, 3. Just a few 100 millisecond delay difference. I didn't hear any of them actually. That's interesting. Is it the other way around? I always forget this. Didn't hear anything. Oh, there it goes. I only really heard one. There, I got to turn off the music. Sounds like one to me. Let's put bigger spaces between them. No, there's just one there. I'm pretty sure. That's weird. I think there's such a large space that they should actually be in separate channels, so to speak, or segments, or I don't know. Wait a minute. There's only one he said timeout's not getting context very often because 1, 2, 3, okay. But maybe it's actually that it's because I didn't have the window open, it wasn't actually. It really sounds like 1 to me there. Oh, that's weird. That's weird. That's weird. Okay, let's actually just console log it, you know. Legal fiction. Yep, sure. I'm pretty sure I'm only hearing 1 there. Well, let's put a bigger space between them. I guess this one's 1500, this one's 2000. I hear 3 separate ones then. What if I make it smaller? Maybe the sound is just so small I can't distinguish. Yeah, but it sounds like it's doing 1 and then finishing. Alright. No, I don't believe that's 3. It's certainly not 3. It's literally 2. It's only playing 2 noises. That's weird. What if, oh, I got an idea. What if I don't use the same pop for maybe it's because I actually have the same pop for every single one. Okay, I got an interesting question. Alright, JS/audio, I think. Source, and I want to play it immediately. Failed to construct audio. Please use the new operator. Good call. There we go. I think. Yeah, there's like you can hear the first one finishing before. The second one's starting before the first one finished, basically. That's what I keep making that mistake, don't I? Yeah, there we go. That's more. That's interesting. You can't use the same one for multiple pops. If you use the same audio, it will only do them one after the other. In the event that there's enough space between them. If you create new ones for each one, it'll play them all in parallel, basically. So yeah, the thing that does suck about this, I mean, it's not a big deal, but is the audio, right? The way at least this audio works is, I'm not gonna be able to resume it from I'm not gonna be able to resume in quite the same way. So there would actually be like if you were in the middle of a pop sound playing, I can't probably resume exactly at that pop sound. You know, there may be a way to do that, but yeah. I'll worry about that some other day. But it is true that, you know, with the canvas, like, we'll be moving stepwise in terms of actually making changes, and that'll be cool in the sense that basically the thing will exactly resume at the exact moment you were at. Unfortunately, yeah, the audio won't quite resume at the exact moment you were at, but it'll resume at a very close moment to the moment you're at. You know, this isn't a big deal for something with, I think, a sound that's only a few hundred milliseconds. But, yeah, it would be annoying, like, if you were, you know, being yelled at by some orc on the other side of the field, and you happen to save the game and walk away and come back. When you come back, he's not yelling anymore. Although his mouth's open, he's making a yelling gesture. He's suddenly not yelling. That would happen with this, right? Because, you know, it's fire and forget basically, or fire and throw it away basically. Really, you know, once the sound is fired, it's a side effect. The fact that it keeps playing, it's not an immediate thing. We could try to figure out how to do that. Yeah, I really don't know how to do it actually though. It would be a different type of thing because it'd be the first thing that actually exists that. Well, no, it would be the same, but like every playing sound would also need to enqueue something that's, you know, that keeps running on every subsequent render frame that says, look, if you're resumed at this point, this is the percent that I've played so far, or something like that, or this, at least if nothing else, you know, it would each subsequent every time a render runs, right, and a sound's playing, there's a sound message in there that says, like, we started playing wah, you know, at time 10, you know, you'd look at time 11 and it'd say, okay, I started playing wah, which is a five time long sound at time 10, and then we'd say, okay, we process that message, and part of processing that message involves enqueuing another message saying, you know, which is saying the exact same thing. We are processing sound wah at time 12. We're processing sound wah at time 13. We're processing sound wah at time 14. And each of those messages says the exact same thing, which is wah is a 5 millisecond audio clip, 5T audio clip, and wah is something that that started at time 10, you know, and then finally on wah on time 15, when we look at that message and it says, I started playing wah at time 10, and we look at it and it says it's time 15 now, that finally we can say, okay, this time we don't have to re-enqueue that message, basically. Yeah, you could do that. It's a pain in the butt, honestly. But I guess you don't actually have to re-enqueue the message. You just have to, on every render, some of them it would actually run across and saying, you know, like right now there's a run after, right? And anything with run after basically we discard, right? But we could also have a run until, right? Within the run after. So run until is always slightly greater than the run after length, right? It basically says, let's see, I don't know. Or I guess actually we need two things, right? Because there's no guarantee that, like, you could have actually ended up running a full, you know, several seconds after run after says that you should run if you know, if the tab was not selected or something, you know, or if the computer was under load. So we don't know when the run after really started. We do know though that the run after, let me think. We do know though when we think we started playing the audio, you know. And basically the correct way to do this would actually be to split it. Now, there really is no actually correct way to do this. I mean, we'll know. It's even weirder than because this is actually the only, I think the thing that makes this really weird is it's the first truly continuous thing. Like, even the idea of change through time isn't truly continuous, right? It's frame based, right? Which means it's actually discrete between every frame, right? But sound is truly continuous. I mean, it's actually it's getting really silly. Like, it's actually like 44,000 hertz or something, right? Or cycles or frames or whatever, right? And so if you had a thing that was that detailed in terms of the number of frames, then you could do sound correctly, you know, in the exact same way that I'm suggesting you might be able to do frame rates, you know. But 44,000 is probably a lot of frames to be capturing per second, basically. I think it's like 44,100 or 48,000. I don't really know what that actually means, you know. I don't really know what that actually means. Like, I don't know how many actual samples there are in an audio clip. You know, how many? I mean, hertz means per second, basically, in general, you know, so what does 44,100 hertz mean for audio? Oops, that's supposed to be a question. It's the sampling frequency. So it's, yeah, analog audio is recorded by sampling in 44,000 times per second. So yeah, you could do what I'm suggesting in the exact same way that we're doing it currently for video or for frames, by just sampling much more often. You know, about 1,000 times more often. You know, we're currently doing probably around 60, and this would be 44,000. So about 750 times more often. Then fine, you solved the problem. But even with modern computers, I think you might be running into errors with that, with problems with that. You know. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think the sound will just be a little bit of an issue. Now, having said all that, if you don't care about being 100% correct, right? It seems like if I know, and I mean we're talking like, you know, the sound might be off the lips for just a tiny period of time, you know. Like if it, like I say, that orc across the field starts saying "wah," you know, and then you pause you suspend the game right at that moment, you know. Right now with this system, he's saying "wah." You suspend the game, you restore the game. When you restore the game, he's still got his mouth open. He's still screaming. It looks like, except there's no sound playing. You know, he's not going "wah," you know, and that's because this was a fire and forget kind of thing. You know, if we wanted to, though, yeah, we could probably. It's a bit different, right? Because we really would have to have internal knowledge about the fact that sound is different from everything else, because we aren't recording at a high enough fidelity to actually record the sound, you know. That is to say, we don't have enough we're not recording at a high enough frequency to actually record every bit of sound, you know. The correct solution is to record at the higher frequency, at the frequency of sound, which is evidently 44,000 hertz, you know. That's a great solution, but it's kind of impractical. The incorrect solution would be to sort of restore the sound at the point that we think you're at, you know. Which, I don't know, I just don't know how I feel about that, because you might be consistently a little bit off, you know. Like if the sound's very short, like the wah, right, which it's only going to last another 2 seconds, right. First of all, you wouldn't be off for long, right, but you would be off for, you know, you'd be off potentially. The sound might be a tiny bit off from the actual video, I think. I guess not much though. I think that at most it might be 16 milliseconds off from the video, right? Because we have no real way of knowing at what point in what actual moment in time was a snapshot taken, since our granularity is only up to, well, wait a minute, that's not true. We can only restore at a point that was, when you take a snapshot of something, you're taking a snapshot. There's no such thing as taking a snapshot at this exact moment. That's like saying like the sentence right now. The sentence right now, it doesn't make sense. You can only say the last sentence really, and be absolutely certain about what we're talking about, you know. So when you take a snapshot, you're taking a snapshot of the things that have already occurred, not of the current thing, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, we've fully recorded exactly what happened up to the point that last occurred, right? And so I guess, yeah, we could theoretically restore the sound perfectly, you know, because we just start playing the sound at the exact moment it should have been when it started, you know. And it does involve, of course, knowing some, because of the unique way sound works, it does involve knowing some kind of, that sound is special, right? Sound, you gotta, like, whenever you see a message in there that says play sound, you know, first of all, you ask the question, is the sound playing yet? You know, so you look in the message and saying, if it's a sound message, and it's a sound message that says something like, I started playing at this point, and you know that you're currently at that point, then you know, I started playing at time X, and it's now X plus N, you know, in terms of the current time. And I also, message would have 3 things. 1, it's a sound message. 2, this is the point that it started playing at, you know. And 3, this is the sound message, this is the point we started playing at. And this is where I think that's really it, yeah. this is the point I started playing at, and I'm a sound message. And then we know what our current time is, so we know, well, you should be 60% through that sound file, you know? And so when we restore, we restore you at that point, so to speak, you know? We restore you so that you're 60% through the sound loop, you know? I think that might be possible, you know? Let's look at the, I'm a bit curious about it, right? Whoa. Whoa. That might be what we want. Current time. So I think it actually is possible, right? We can restore the sound at the exact moment that it should be playing at. When we restore this game. So that work will be saying wah, and the cinematic music in the background will be restored at the exact moment it should be restored at. You know, within a bit of skew, admittedly. There's no way, you know, I think that ultimately becomes like one of those, you know, in general types of problems. There's no way to actually be certain that that everything's resyncing at the same time. But like within reason, yes, everything should play at the exact same moment. Or within an idealized environment, yes. You know, the bullet is still making, you know, as the ambulance is going by you in the game, right? It still has the exact same, the ambulance is at a certain position, the Doppler effect is at the exact same audio-wise position. Yeah, all those things should still work out. Of course, in a real game, the ambulance would also contain the Doppler effect, so they would be intimately linked, you know? That's a different interesting idea. What if the bubble itself is the sound? I mean, I was picturing the bubble moving through 4 states when it pops, basically. It's in its initial state where it sits for, like, according to the book, it should sit there for 80 milliseconds. Then it sits through the next 3 states for 60 milliseconds each, you know? Or 2 states, then the third one. Wait, 60, yeah, and then it's in the 3rd state. And then it's in the 4th state when it's gone, basically, you know? So it takes a total of 200 milliseconds for the bubble to pop, right? With 4 separate states between there. And that's pretty much it. And so, if that's true, assuming that audio clip is also 200 milliseconds, you know, we know that, actually maybe it's 120 milliseconds, I don't know. We know that, because that would make more sense at some level. Well, not really. None of it makes a lot of sense, but whatever it is, whatever point in the popping cycle you're at, that you should be that proportionally popped, you know, and also the sound should be able to resume you from that point. Yeah, it's worth thinking about. It might actually even be possible to resume the sound at the exact moment it should be at, you know. That would be cool. That would be cool. I think it might be possible, at least. The sound is a bit different, really, because, like, the whole system is a bit designed for, okay, we have this enqueued queue, right? That is all the things that need to be processed at some point in the future, but sound might need to be processed for, you know, for the button, for the popping noises, right? That's just milliseconds, right? 100 milliseconds is how long it's going to hang out in the queue, which is a lot, right? 100 milliseconds is still 6 frames worth of time, you know, six objects that may have been created or whatever, you know. But it's a lot, but it's not impossible. While, you know, like if we're literally playing background music the entire time, then that thing will always be in the queue. It'll just be sitting there, sitting in the front of the queue, never leaving, right? Never exiting. Which is okay. It's not a big deal. It's just, you know, it's kind of something you have to, it's a linear cost now that you have to pay every single render loop. You have to walk through that one and say, oh, it's a sound one, and it's still playing, so I'm just going to leave it there, basically. You know? Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's a sound, it's still playing, I'm just going to leave it there. I don't have anything to do with it yet, you know. Similarly, there's another question about what happens when sounds can be interrupted, you know. Like, I always think of programs as new messages coming into the queues, but what about the possibility that messages, I mean, with the possibility of time also introduced, and the idea that things aren't just instantaneous, they don't occur as in that moment, you know. We've introduced the notion of, well, then that sometimes means that things need to be removed from the queue, you know, like sound, for instance, you know. Maybe there's a 10-second thing that we just loop forever, which is just the sound of you screaming as you fall off a cliff, you know. And so you've been falling 24 seconds, then you hit the ground, right? At that moment, the sound needs to stop, the screaming, right? Because you're dead now, right? So that would be a thing that has to be spontaneously removed from the queue, you know, or not spontaneously. It could have been predicted even, but a message that actually needs to be removed from the queue, which is possible. It's just not something I've ever thought of before, you know, removing things from an event queue. Because usually, like I say, most of the difficulties here are in regard to sound, or in regard to time, I mean to say. Like, sound and transition animations and that kind of stuff aren't usually a problem because you just do them, right? You don't worry about the fact that it may put the app in a slightly weird state or something like that, you know? Or that there is something that is being true here that is not really captured in the actual app state, you know? Because in general, there's no notion of time, right? It doesn't matter the fact that CSS transition animations have time and sound has time, because your app itself does not have the notion of time, right? It may know the notion of time. It may know that this state is previous to that state, and may also know when each state occurred, but it itself does not care about the notion of time. It's like a database. Databases don't care about what time it is. It's only its database time, which is now, you know. But these systems, these games, right, they really do need to intrinsically understand the notion of time and reason through, well, not reason through it, but deal with it, you know. Time is a real thing, you know. Things are timed. They don't just, you know, it's not always just, you know, the world sits completely still until an event occurs. The world is moving on its own, and if you don't respond to the change of time, then, you know, you may lose the game, for instance, or whatever, right? So it's very interesting. Completely different type of programming than I'm used to. So, yeah. Having said that, I think dinner is pretty soon, so and I'm also getting a bit tired, and I'm getting a bit long-winded when I get tired. I start talking too much and working too little, so time for dinner, basically, and then, yeah. Dinner, walk, go get a donut, maybe work a little bit more tonight, but yeah, so we do have time, so I guess we should include that in the sound. I mean, I'm probably not going to deal with this whole notion of actually, or if it will, it'll be a encore later on, you know. I'm not going to deal with the sound issue. I'm just going to say, yeah, it plays a little sound when you do it, you know, and it won't really resume properly, but sorry, you know. I bet you nobody would even think of, for this particular game, no one would ever even notice it, you know. Because it will play whenever a thing starts popping. It just won't actually play as the thing is already in the middle of popping, you know. Or it won't resume if a bubble is in the middle of popping. You know, I don't actually know if that sound was for... I didn't actually look if that sound is for the popping or if the sound is for the shooting of the bubble. I assume it's for the popping since it's called pop, but I never checked. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much it for the actual what do I need to draw to the screen kind of stuff, you know. Everything else is just, okay, actually draw it, you know. Which I think we're pretty simply just going to do we're just going to simply re-render the thing re-render the thing every second and or every frame, and that's basically it. Yeah. Alright, let me take a break. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Obviously, I've gone completely off the rail, and yeah, this has nothing to do with what the content of Chapter 2 was. I've now done Chapter 6 effectively, which is the canvas rendering in Chapter 2, and I haven't even done the actual math for Chapter 2, so probably tomorrow morning, which is Sunday, I'm going to begin by working on, like, doing the algorithmic parts, and then finally I'm going to finish out the day with the model data structures and the controller stuff. Anyway, yeah, that's my current thinking, and yeah, it should be fun. But yeah, I don't really know whether this is really gonna match. I'll try. I mean, it's cool that I can draw the shapes now and stuff, you know. But similarly, it's it hasn't. I haven't followed the structure of the book very much at all. But but you know, it's at least inspired by it. So yeah, I am rambling. So anyway, that's it for this session recording.